Hello everyone. Today I would like to read out the seventh chapter titled The Meeting from my manuscript, The King's Daughter and Him. This story is a work of fiction. All characters, events, and places are imaginary or symbolic in nature. Any resemblance to real person, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. The story is created purely for entertainment and storytelling purposes only. I'd like to read out the story. The king's daughter had invited my friend for evening tea. Since he was uncomfortable meeting her alone, he informed her that I would be accompanying him. To my surprise, she agreed. Honestly, I wasn't very comfortable with the idea either. But he was my childhood friend, and I felt he probably needed my support. That afternoon, he called me and shared the meeting time. I wrapped up my office work early, obtained permission from my manager, and headed home. A little later, my friend picked me up. As we drove towards the king's residence, he continued telling me the story of his very first meeting with the king's daughter in that foreign land. He said, I quickly got ready in my formal clothes. After all, I was going to meet the king himself. I also carried some of my sample drawings with me. When he reached the palace, he had to go through multiple security checks and formal procedures before finally being granted an audience with the king. The king left a strong impression on him. He appeared calm, composed, and calculating. There was a certain dignity in the way he carried himself. The palace itself was magnificent. Grand chandeliers hung from the ceilings, and every corner reflected wealth and power. My friend told me that he was almost afraid to walk on the spotless carpets, worried that the dust from his shoes might leave a mark. Then he saw a portrait hanging on one of the palace walls. It was a portrait of the king's daughter. According to him, she looked like someone who had stepped straight out of a fairy tale. I interrupted him and said, Yes, she's beautiful. But what strikes me more is the way she carries herself. There is royalty in every gesture. My friend smiled and continued. The king's assistant examined his drawings and passed them on for assessment. Fortunately, the king liked his work. A remuneration package had already been decided for the role. However, my friend refused to accept it. He explained that taking up paid work outside his professional responsibilities would go against his principles. He wanted to pursue this opportunity purely for passion for art and out of curiosity about the palace and its people. I told him that was a wise decision. Interestingly, the king was equally unwilling to accept free services. After some discussion, my friend jokingly mentioned that if payment was necessary, he would rather receive home cooked food. Living abroad, he missed it terribly. For the first time, the king smiled. Perhaps he sensed my friend's sincerity. The arrangement was accepted. Soon afterward, the king's assistant escorted him through the palace corridors to meet the king's daughter. As they walked, they reached a heavily secured door. The guards unlocked it. Beyond that door was a room filled with every luxury imaginable. And standing inside was the king's daughter. My friend paused and said, She was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. I immediately interrupted him. I don't believe you're telling me the complete story. Surely you're hiding something. He laughed. You can ask her yourself this evening. No chance, I replied. I trust you more than her. Now continue. He shook his head and resumed. The room was constantly monitored by security personnel. The guards never left her alone. Every interaction had to take place under their watchful eyes. My friend introduced himself. The king's daughter responded politely but immediately corrected him. Please don't call me princess. I am the king's daughter and my name is Dash. As he spoke about her, I noticed something interesting. He wasn't describing only her appearance, he was observing her, trying to understand her. According to him, her paintings were technically good, but they lacked life. They lacked emotion. In many ways, he felt they reflected her own existence. Perfect on the surface, but somehow distant. He began reviewing her work and discussing various techniques. At one point, he moved closer to guide her hand. I burst out laughing. You just wanted an excuse to hold her hand. He immediately protested. No, she genuinely wasn't getting some of the strokes right. Then he admitted something. Yes, she was one of the most beautiful women I had ever seen, but I wasn't trying to hold her hand unnecessarily. Before he could get any closer, she stepped back. The guards instantly moved towards him. He said he felt as though he had committed a crime. Trying to explain himself, he quickly said, She didn't get it right. I was only trying to help. The king's daughter looked at him firmly and said, Maintain your distance. If I need help, I will ask. If you notice a mistake, point it out. I will correct it myself. Only then did she signal the guards to step away. My friend apologized. She accepted the apology. But her expression made one thing very clear: he should never repeat that mistake. The lesson continued, and by the end of the session, she had mastered the technique almost perfectly. By this time, my friend finished telling me the story, and we had reached my home. I told him I would meet him again in an hour. Before getting out of the car, I asked, "Do I need to dress formally to meet her?" He laughed. "Wear whatever you want." Then he added, "Just let your parents know we'll be having dinner and might be late." "Not too late," I replied. "I have work tomorrow." He nodded and then asked, "Have you told your parents anything about me and the king's daughter?" "No," I said. "I only mentioned the bindi shop incident and told them you needed my help with something. Since it's you, they didn't ask too many questions." My friend smiled. "Good, get ready. I'll be back in an hour." And with that, we headed towards a meeting that neither of us fully understood at that time. That's all for the day. Do let me know your thoughts about this story by writing in the comment section. Thanks for watching and thanks for your time.